Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Corner Office on Super Bowl Wednesday. We waited 4 days to get an episode out about the Super Bowl after it happening. First and foremost, trying a new thing out right now. What do we think? Do we like the hat? Do we not like the hat? I've never worn a hat on the show before.
I kind of like the hat. I never even thought of that. I don't know why it's a Mariners hat.
No,
but
thanks, guys. Yeah,
it looks cool.
Check it out. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
I like the rope.
Pretty sick. The rope.
Where'd you get that?
The rope makes the hat. The rope makes.
It's definitely a velvet hat too, or a corduroy hat.
It is. It sure is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the play. Secondly, we have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Tyler Richardson, T-Rich, my brother's roommate, close friend of Jack's down in DC, and
resident Eagles fan.
Rampant Philadelphia Eagles fan. So let's clap it up for him. Welcome to the show.
Come on, brother.
Long time listener, first time caller.
Yeah.
Excited to be on the show.
Yeah, what a better time for you to come on and talk and like breathe some life into this show, because I got to tell you, after this Super Bowl, I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot of the stuff that we covered on our preview episode, but man, do I feel really empty inside.
I know that you won't relate to this, Tyler, but that was one of the most anticlimactic Super Bowls that I've ever watched.
Yeah, it just straight up, like, I can see how, like, as like a you only enjoyed that game if you were either rooting heavy for the Eagles or just a massive Chiefs hater. Like, that's just the only way that you enjoyed that game.
And I kind of am a Chiefs hater.
As a resident Chiefs hater.
Yeah.
I would say that I have been waiting now 3 years for the Chiefs to lose. And the way that it's somewhat rewarding to have it be a blowout. But what I really wanted was for them to be in a situation where the end of the game scenario was not in their hands. Like, the opposite team had the ball and then the Chiefs lost on a last second touchdown. That really would have made me feel better about the last 2 years. But the fact that they got blown out so much actually plays so heavily into the current GOAT debate, which I'm sure that we'll get in later, that it's almost as redeeming in like a long-term way. But definitely watching the Super Bowl, I was like, this is not quite as good as I thought it would feel.
I think the highlight of my Super Bowl watching experience, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, is Cooper DeJean, only white cornerback in the NFL, gets a pick six, and I think every white dude at that point was like standing up off the couch like, go white boy, go. So early candidate for white guy of the year. Let's give a shout out to Cooper DeJean here. But yeah, I mean, the game ended in the second quarter. Like, it was like 24-0 going into halftime, and I was hearing, like, beside me all the 28-3 stuff, because obviously, like, you know, you think about these guys like Brady and Mahomes are always going to be compared when it comes to Super Bowl rings, Super Bowl wins, you know, the amount of win shares, what they've been doing in their careers thus far. But like, for me, like, I always felt like this entire season I've been preaching it. I was like, whoever comes out of the AFC, I think, has a really good chance to win the Super Bowl. And I just simply don't think the Chiefs were as good a team as the Bills were or the Ravens were. And they somehow won both of those games. I think when I saw them go against the Bills, I thought that they were going to win just because historically that was the same way. And then I thought the Chiefs were going to beat the Eagles, and they came out, and that defensive performance was just absolutely stifling. I mean, that first half defensively was just unbelievable. I had never seen the Chiefs look that disarrayed for an entire half of football.
And that is something that we talked about on our preview last week. One of the points that we highlighted was if they can get Mahomes under pressure, and the Eagles secondary can maintain coverage on their receivers, that is their one weakness as a team. And that is exactly what they did, and they executed it to a T. So, I mean, Tyler, as the Eagles fan, going into that game, did you have any concerns about that defense, and what really surprised you about the way that they came out?
As far as concerns, I think my concerns were that the Chiefs ran so much like sort of like BS like screens and stuff. Like like that was their MO all season. And they really they went away from that in the game. So I was worried about that coming in, because the way the Eagles have played defense all year with Vic Fangio has been sort of like no gimmicks. We aren't sending like weird bluff blitzes. We aren't doing like weird bluff coverage. It's we're going to send 4. We're going to cover you, and your 11 guys need to be our 11 guys straight up. Otherwise, we're going to win every time. And I think the Chiefs, in a way, they played into it perfectly, but also just that front 4. I mean, 0 0% blitz rate, and Mahomes got sacked more than he ever has in his career.
Yeah.
The four guys up front on the whole crew was rotating in and out. I think Jalix Hunt got a sack. Moro Ojomo got a sack. Like these are guys who maybe recorded like a handful of tackles all season, and
Mm.
they're out there getting after Patrick Mahomes on the biggest stage ever. So I think the way the front four came out firing this year was fantastic to see compared to 2 years ago. It was the opposite. We were averaging like 4 sacks a game all season, getting to the Super Bowl and we got nothing.
Yeah.
Um, and granted, that's a whole other conversation, the sod father, the grass, this, that, the other. But at the end of the day, just watching the front four come out firing was, I think, awesome. So
And
Yeah.
I think that even talking about the secondary, to me, one of the biggest defensive plays that was made in that game was in the first half when the Chiefs went for it on fourth down around the midfield, and your fourth or fifth reserve corner came in and covered D-Hop one-on-one and went out of his way to make a great deflection on the ball.
yeah, that was Avonte Maddox. He's been an Eagle for a while. He's one of the only guys who's still there from when we were in like defensive back like hell, like before we got CJGJ and before we got Reed and even before Darius Slay. And he's been the slot guy, so he got sort of benched for Coop. But seeing Avonte come out and be able to make a play on the big stage when he hasn't seen the field a lot this year was really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that first and foremost, like the fact that you could get pressure on the quarter, like the amount of quarterback pressures that they had in that game, just in general, was pretty like absurd. Especially when you think that you're going against like Joe Tooney and like two other like all pro guys on that offensive line. Like this is one of the best offensive lines in football. You know, and we talk a lot about the Eagles' offensive line being one of the best O lines in football and being able to protect Jalen Hurts, who had a ton of time to work in the pocket, I thought, especially in that first half. But the amount of quarterback pressures that they were getting was something that I did not expect going into this game. And then especially being able to do it with just the front four and then relying on your zone behind you to cover, like fantastic defensive scheme. They did exactly what they needed to do. On the offensive side of the ball, I've never seen a quarterback combat the blitz, like Spagnuolo's blitz, as well as Jalen Hurts did. Every time he saw the blitz come, he would just tuck the ball and get 8 to 10 yards. You know what I mean? He was just playing really smart football. And if you remember in the preview, I said I wasn't sure if Jalen Hurts had like the pocket awareness to be able to, you know, combat against this defense. He put some really good balls into good positions. And honestly, that one that he threw on, I think, 4th and 2 that got called back for the offensive PI. Do you remember the one that I'm talking about? To AJ Brown down the sideline, which was
when I game.
Yeah, when I texted Jack and I was like, all right, here comes, you know, the stuff, it's happening, right?
Yeah.
But like the way that he was slinging the rock, he looked confident in the pocket, and then like the way that he was combating the blitz was not something that I had seen all season, especially against this Chiefs defensive line that has been so good against getting to the quarterback. And I just think that they came out and just stunned them. You know what I mean? Like you looked at that bench after the first half, and none of them wanted to be on the field. It was pretty crazy to see. And, you know, I just don't think that the Chiefs ever really recovered from that first half barrage. And I got to say, this is like as close as I've seen to this Eagles team playing a perfect game of football while Saquon Barkley was not being a huge contributor.
Well, and I think that was part of their game plan, right? Because the Chiefs going into that game had to draw up most of their defense around Saquon Barkley. Because if they didn't, then he was going to kill them, as he did every team throughout the regular season. So I think that they, in a sense, overcommitted to him and forgot about all the other ways that the Eagles can beat you. And I agree with what you said. Jalen Hurts was a huge question mark going into this game. He's honestly been a question mark towards their success this season in terms of both being on the field and what he's doing on the field, especially at the beginning of the season. And that I have not seen him play as confidently as he did since the last time they were in the Super Bowl. And I think that most people would agree with that. So I was very impressed with the way that Kellen Moore drew up their offense in order to combat what the Chiefs were doing. And it was like they were playing a game of chess, and that Andy Reid and the Chiefs couldn't figure out what moves they were going to make. It feels like they didn't change their offense at all. They handed off the ball like 6 times the entire game. They couldn't establish any sort of rhythm. They had 23 yards in the first half, and I was very disappointed with the moves that they made at halftime. It felt like they didn't make any adjustments. So,
and you also stray away from using your most explosive offensive weapon until the last 5 minutes of the game. Like
which was
Xavier
shocking.
Worthy ended with like 159 yards somehow and like 2 touchdowns, but they both came like with under 9 minutes left to go in the game. Like at that point, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? If you have him in isolation coverage, and I'm sure that the Eagles had a defensive game plan to keep him in front, and obviously the QB pressures is a big part of that as well. But like you have one of the most explosive, wide receivers in the game, and you can't get him involved. Mahomes was hitting some throws, I thought. Like D-Hop had a really bad drop. Travis Kelce had a few bad drops, but he was also spiking the ball into the ground a bunch, which is not something that you see him do. He seemed kind of rattled in the pocket. I'd never seen him look as flustered as he was. 2 interceptions that were both relatively bad interceptions in my opinion. And then that strip fumble, really, when you win the turnover battle that much and you can just completely stifle a defense like that, or an offense like that, it's really hard to lose those types of games, especially when you have that good of field position. And I think that combined with the way that, the Eagles were getting big conversions on 2nd and 3rd downs and 4th downs, and, they were, putting points up. And that initial barrage, again, is just not something that the Chiefs were able to overcome.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a game that you look at the final score, and if you had not watched the game, you would say it was a close game, but at the end of the day, it didn't really tell the story of what happened.
Yep.
And I think that if you had blindly told an Eagles fan the stats of the game, Patrick Mahomes had 250 yards, 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and Jalen Hurts had 200 yards and 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Saquon Barkley had 70 total yards, right? I think that if you told an Eagles fan before the game, these are the stats at the end of the game, you would have said the Chiefs won on the last drive. However, it was not even remotely close. After the first quarter, the game was effectively over.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that annoys me as an Eagles fan is after the game, obviously the final score being 40-22. Is that exactly that? Is that it doesn't tell the story well enough of just the absolute beatdown that it's it's I know I've said it to Jack before, but whenever a Patriots fan tries talking trash or whatever, I'm just 41-33 because
Right.
that was a close game. We went out, we won it by 8, and just being able to throw out that number, but 40-22, it also gets upsetting because then it doesn't get thrown up there, then Dak, or I said Dak because I'm so used to saying Dak in garbage time, but Mahomes just got all those garbage time numbers that it's I just wish that the game ended and Patrick Mahomes had 65 passing yards, 2 interceptions. Exactly where it's I wish the final score was that 40-6 that we had at one point.
They had some 38, 48 yards of total offense in the first half. That's unheard of. It's unheard of for a team of their caliber.
Yeah, they got a first down on the first pass of the game. And after that, they didn't get a first down until the 3rd quarter, and they didn't cross the 50 until I think the 4th. I don't even.
Yep.
They might have crossed the 50 with 10 seconds left in the 3rd, but they didn't even cross the 50-yard line until the 4th quarter. So.
I mean, it's hard to keep the gas on when you're up that much. I guess you're up 40-0 or whatever it was. You know what I mean? It's hard to keep the dogs on. With 9 minutes left in the Super Bowl, you're okay, this one's wrapped up. But yeah, I think I would have loved for it to have been 40-6 or something like that, and you could just point to it and be man, remember when the Chiefs got absolutely destroyed by the Eagles in the Super Bowl? I mean, they did anyways, but you know what I mean. From the casual fans viewing perspective, it doesn't look like it as much.
But when they lost for the first time against the Bucs, it really did. That scoreline really does tell blowout before you even look at the statistics. So let's talk narratives here, because as Patriots fans, for Alex and I, this is something that we were admittedly mildly concerned about going into this Super Bowl. Was, okay, if they win this and they get the 3-peat, it becomes a legitimate conversation as to where is Patrick Mahomes' place among the best quarterbacks of all time. And he's still in that conversation, absolutely. But 4-1 with a 3-peat looks marginally different than 3-2 with 2 huge blowouts. So how does this loss affect the Chiefs' legacy moving forward?
You want me to field this one first? I guess I can. I think first and foremost, you have to keep in mind that Patrick Mahomes is only 29 at the max. I don't even know. I think he's 27, 29. I'm looking it up right now. He's 29
I
years
think he's
old.
29.
Yeah. So you got like at least, in my opinion, 7 or 8 more years of him being a very solid quarterback. Potentially, if he has the longevity, he could play for another 11 years in the league. And the stuff that he's done at this point is kind of unprecedented, right? You know, you come in, you go to 5 Super Bowls in however many years, you win 3 of them. You know, the 2 that you lost to, in my opinion, the greatest quarterback of all time. I think that's, pretty clear now. And then the second one, you lost in a three-peat attempt. So I don't think that this loss really affects his legacy that much. I think people will point to it this year and be like, oh, he got blown out in the Super Bowl. Like, I never want to hear his name brought up in Tom Brady conversations again. But then he's going to get to another one at some point, in my opinion. I think that he will be back. I don't know if it'll be next season or the season after that, but I think you have to anticipate that the fact that this Chiefs team has been so good, it's been so well coached, it's been so well played, that they will find their way back to the Super Bowl at some point. And when that performance goes well, then you'll have these conversations sparking up again. But for right now, just because of the recency bias of said performance, people are already going to overreact and be like, oh, of course, like Brady would never do that in the Super Bowl. Like, no, Brady had bad Super Bowls. You know what I mean? Like,
but he never
Super Bowl
lost.
against
but every Super Bowl that he lost was a one-score game.
Correct.
With the team having the ball at the end of the game that they lost to, which is very different than 2 blowout losses.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I'm just saying that it's hard to get to the Super Bowl in the first place. And the fact that Patrick Mahomes has done it 5 times in however, like 7 seasons, you know what I mean? It's not something that you see often. You know what I mean? So like, I think that, there is going to be, like I said, that overreaction for a bit where people are going to be like, oh my goodness, Patrick Mahomes isn't the quarterback that we thought he was. But I just don't think that that's backed by, the historical accuracy of this. He's run the AFC. There is not a team in the AFC right now that can beat the Chiefs consistently. You can point to the Bengals. They beat the Bengals in the AFC Championship. The Bills are like literally their son. They cannot beat the Kansas City Chiefs. The Ravens have never even played the Kansas City Chiefs outside of the divisional. You know what I mean? Like
they played them in the conference championship last year.
Conference championship last year at home, and the Chiefs still beat the Ravens.
Yeah. So like, I think you can point to whoever you think is going to be the next Chiefs stopper, and they haven't done it yet. They haven't proven it, especially in the last 3 seasons. I think this speaks a whole of a lot more about the Eagles going forward, because obviously you're returning a lot of this team next year. And as much as I don't think that this was necessarily the best team in the NFL going into this, I do think that they are very dangerous and only getting better. So I think that you will see the Eagles at the top of a really heavily contested NFC East with them, the Commanders, the Cowboys, and obviously the Giants are going to be bad. But it's just like that. I think that's more so like what the conversation is. I think it should be more about the Eagles going out and having a fantastic performance, and less about Patrick Mahomes and what this means for his legacy when he still has 11 more years of football to play.
Yeah. I think I'll touch on the Chiefs point there. I think, Alex, you hit a lot of it right on the head. Tom Brady went, 10 years without winning a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
That it's like exactly that. And the other thing is, this is one of the worst Chiefs teams Mahomes has played in the Super Bowl with. If you think about those first couple teams he was playing with, Travis Kelce was 10 times better.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Jones was still in his prime. Chris Jones is getting old now. Him and Travis are both out of their primes. They had Tyrann Mathieu on that old Chiefs defense. They had Tyreek Hill out there. That it's like the Chiefs, all those years ago when they first beat the Niners, like that was almost a better iteration of a Chiefs team than Mahomes has had right now. And frankly, I think that this version of the Chiefs is on his way out. I mean, Kelce has maybe 1 more year in him. Chris Jones has maybe 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even have like who was their wide receiver 1 this year. Like guys were hurt in and out. That it's like I think that the Chiefs are going to have a downslope, but I don't know if I'm willing to rule out Mahomes' legacy just yet. But I would say that Tom Brady is easily above him as of right now.
I think that you could point to certain aspects of players being better on that 2019 Super Bowl team, but I don't know if I would necessarily agree with the team as a whole being better. I think that their stars were definitely more stars than they are now. But I mean, people are forgetting that this Chiefs team still has Rashee Rice, who was hurt all season, and in the beginning of the season was one of the best wide receivers in the NFL.
Yep.
So their wide receiver core is him, Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins, and Hollywood Brown. That is one of the best wide receiver cores in the NFL. And then you add on to that Travis Kelce, who again is on his way out, and he only has a couple of years left. If you look on their defense, they have guys like George Karlaftis, who is filling in a very similar role to Chris Jones was 5 years ago. They also have guys like Nick Bolton and Leo Chenal and not L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie. Like, they have an absolutely fantastic roster, top to bottom. I think that the most essential part of keeping this Chiefs team successful is their coaching staff. Andy Reid is 66. How many more years will he be around? Steve Spagnuolo is not getting any younger, right?
Yep.
And I mean, Matt Nagy doesn't actually do anything. He just has a headset on the sidelines. He
He
just kind of flashes his hands sometimes. But I think that any Chiefs team with this coaching staff, and especially with all of this young talent that they have, especially defensively, I think that they will be good going forward. I think that the question is, will they continually be able to beat teams from the NFC? Because I feel like for the last 5 to 10 years, honestly, the AFC has been the better division. Now we are watching that flip to the NFC for the first time really since I started watching football. I can confidently say the NFC is the best division in football.
Yep.
Because there will be a bunch of teams coming out of there. And they are going to play each other very hard and be more in tune than the Chiefs will by the time that the playoffs roll around. And so for me, that is the conversation going forward. Just like you said, this Eagles team is not getting any worse, especially bringing a bunch of guys back for their second years, especially in their secondary and their defensive line. I mean, they have rookies out there playing great lockdown defense on some of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And the Chiefs are one of many teams in that NFC that is ready to go out and win right now. So I think that the question is not will the Chiefs win the AFC, because I think that they will continually, with some form of regularity going forward, win the NFC or the AFC. It is, can they live up to the competition of their counterpart in the NFC?
Okay.
I'm willing to say that some AFC teams are going to start to step it up. I like this Chiefs team. What was their final record? 15-2, but the last game of the year was a backups. Like all their backups played, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think that they will win that many regular season games again. They're on what, a 17-18 game win streak in one score games. You're going to see their division is only getting better. I mean, granted, the Chargers and Broncos aren't running to a Super Bowl anytime soon, but they're going to give them a run for their money in the regular season that will mess up their seeding. And it also feels a lot like you can either put, it feels a lot like Brady and Peyton Manning just duking it out every single year. And you can put Allen or Lamar or even Burrow, if you want, in that Peyton Manning role, and one of these years those quarterbacks are going to get theirs and they're going to get that shot at that Super Bowl, because I do not think that Mahomes is just never going to lose to the Bills, never going to lose to the Ravens, never going to lose to the Bengals again in the AFC. That I think in the next couple of years I would be almost more surprised than not to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
But at what point does someone actually do it? How many more years is someone going to not do it in the championship game? I mean, every year really their entire duration, we have thought that someone was going to beat them, and yet it hasn't happened yet. So at what point is it going to happen?
I don't know when that point is. I don't think people knew when Peyton Manning was going to get through and get to the Super Bowl, but then in 2000, what was that, 2006, when they went in and they beat the Bears, it's going to happen. One of these years, one of those guys is going to get their break. I do not think Josh Allen retires without a Super Bowl appearance at a minimum. I don't think Lamar Jackson retires without a Super Bowl appearance at a minimum. I think if the Bengals figure out how to draft a single good defensive player, which is a big challenge for them, they're back in that conversation too. So,
okay.
I would say that the Chiefs are more on the downswing, and I would say everybody else is on the up in the AFC. That's my perspective. Plus, as an Eagles fan, it would be really cool to say that we're the team that ended the Chiefs dynasty. So
that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be another good point. Is that
nice.
we went into the Super Bowl, beat the crud out of them, and they just never bounced back. So that could be a side point coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if you saw this Chiefs team go on a bit of a lull, especially as they're starting to transfer from one phase of their team to another. Whether that be 1 year, whether that be 6 or 7, right? Like, who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. However, I do think that Patrick Mahomes plays like he is going to have that longevity. It feels like he is around for the next 10 seasons, minimum. So I think that to say that he won't ever get back and that the GOAT debate is over would be absolutely foolish, which is actually some of the narrative that's going around, which, I mean, to me is foolish. But it just may not be with this team that they have now.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add to that. I think that was really well said. Look, I really think that as much as I don't have a ton to say about this Super Bowl, just because I'm leaving this Super Bowl and being, kind of empty inside, not being a fan of either team, going through an entire season to watch two teams I don't really like play in the Super Bowl. I was kind of watching for commercials at some points in this game, which is not something that I ever want to be again. As a sports fan, as someone who loves sports, I hate those people. And I just think it goes to show you how much I hated myself having to watch this. It was just, not a fun time. The best part of this Super Bowl was probably Travis Kelce having to put on that dumbass red suit thing that he wore on his way out of the locker room after losing 40-22. And I'm just excited for next season when I can really get my hopes up for something different to happen and then to have the exact same result and be right back here talking about how disappointed I am that the Kansas City Chiefs were in the Super Bowl. But congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll clap it up for you guys right now.
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
Good job. You won the Super Bowl. We get it. Saquon Barkley, you're good at football. And yeah, I mean, all I got to say is, Drake May's coming.
He's coming.
And
he's loading.
Put the league on notice. And now we look forward to the draft, how we're going to, mess up our draft pick.
And free agency. I think free agency this year is going to be awesome.
And free agency. I've heard A.J. Brown may come over. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
No way. Not now.
Dude, that's no. I think we have A.J. Brown under contract for another 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah, no one asked.
And and
what's it like having like a competent wide receiver?
Yeah, must be nice.
So the thing is, like, you ask that, but it was not that long ago that I was watching Travis Fulgham and Greg Ward be our wide receivers 1 and 2. I think in 2019, Carson Wentz was like the first quarterback ever to throw for 4,000 yards without throwing more than 5, like without any receiver having more than 500.
Remember Carson Wentz?
I do remember Carson Wentz.
How crazy was it that Carson Wentz lost the Super Bowl to the Eagles this week as the backup quarterback?
And to the guy who took his job, Jalen took his job too. That was, oh my goodness, that was the best. As the world's #1 Carson Wentz hater, that was just wonderful to see. That was wonderful, fantastic.
Poetic justice, one might even say.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was
great.
You had a point about receivers, or were you just was that it?
No, my point was just that, like, I've been there with like I've been without the good receiver. Like
you've been with Demario Douglas and Kendrick Bourne, and
I've been with worse people. I've been with Travis.
You've
Fulgham.
never been there.
I have.
Did you guys have a LeSean McCoy that year? I don't know.
No. That year, that was a weird year, but. No, like we had like random receivers, dude. Like Travis Fulgham had like a 2-game stretch where he had like 150 yards in those 2 games and then disappeared from the face of the earth.
Alex, have you ever watched Patriots football where you felt like you had a like distinct great wide receiver 1? I don't think you have.
No.
Because the last time we had it was like Wes Welker.
Or Randy Moss.
I was going to say Randy Moss. Even Welker, I don't know if he's even
Welker almost received for 2,000 yards.
Welker is like the quintessential white slot receiver that the Patriots always have, like Julian Edelman, and should have been Lad McConkey, but we decided to not draft him. So like we have we've the number 3 overall, number 4, number 4 overall pick. We're going to do something stupid, and I'm not prepared for it. I'm not prepared for when
It needs to
when
be
it's
Tet.
dumb.
It needs
It
to be
be
McMillan.
Tet.
We're gonna
That
draft
would be
Travis
awesome.
Hunter, and then we're gonna have to look at his dumb broad sitting in the stands every game.
That's gonna hurt. That's really gonna suck.
Oh my god!
We're trading for T. Higgins though,
And AJ Brown.
and AJ Brown, and Tyreek Hill.
Jack, I think you texted me that once, so you guys were going to trade for AJ Brown, and then I was like, I don't even know if the Patriots have capital that would be good enough to trade for. Like it would need to be, it would need to be like this first round pick, and then like plus like XYZ. That I was like the Patriots don't even have the capital to trade for AJ Brown. I was like, I can't even like entertain this.
Yeah. No, we definitely don't have that. But you know what we do have?
Mike
the
Rabel.
most cap space in the entire NFL to go spend money on.
And you know who's available as a free agent? No one.
Garrett Wilson.
Like, I don't know.
Garrett Wilson.
Is Garrett Wilson?
Garrett Wilson.
That'd be cool.
And the Jets are blowing it up because Aaron Rodgers will not be their quarterback next year.
Yeah. Did you see what they were saying? He apparently has been rumored to the Steelers. And Deshaun Elliott said leave his ass at the retirement home in response to that.
Yeah.
My roommate Janie said that he wants Aaron Rodgers to go to the Vikings so he can fulfill the Brett Favre arc.
Fulfill the prophecy.
Yeah. This ain't Detroit, man. It's the Super Bowl. There was an interception. He went to the Super Bowl with the Vikings, did he not?
No.
Was he awful with the Vikings?
Yes.
No, he wasn't, no. They had like a good year in there. I think they had like they had a Vikings year, dude. Like,
yeah, because I'm
like
referencing him throwing the pick
had a Vikings
against
year.
New Orleans.
Against New Orleans, they were in the NFC Championship.
Yeah, which makes the call a lot weirder.
Divisional.
When he said this ain't Detroit, man, it's the Super Bowl. It's not. It's not the Super Bowl,
and it's not Detroit. So
yeah, I don't get any of that.
Nor was it ever. So I mean,
I don't remember. That was like the year that the Lions lost every game, I think.
That was a Hall of Fame crash out for like a unbiased commentator to have. That Brett Favre interception.
Yeah, this ain't Detroit. It's the Super Bowl in the NFC Championship game. Sorry, I got an ad here. I'm just making sure that this is the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you even ponder pass? It's coming. Hold on. There it is. So, not Detroit. Not that is Super
also
Bowl.
The equivalent.
Why do you even ponder passing? Yeah,
that's the equivalent of Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady, because that was like the Fox #1 commentators, was it not? Like that was like
that was like talk about something
two
really
very
quickly?
unbiased commentators.
Can we get Tom Brady out of the booth? I don't care how much. I don't like it.
I don't like it.
He's not good. Every time it's like he goes.
He was loving it the other day though.
Patty Mahomes, he's a really good quarterback, and then they snap the ball, and then he's like, and see, watch as he drops back here, and he does it all the time. He just doesn't have a coherent thought to do color commentary with.
He's not actually good at the job. Granted, I don't think I heard a single thing either of the commentators said the entirety of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The voices in my head were twice as loud, and the voices in the room were 3 times as loud. But yeah, he does not do a good job. I have not enjoyed, because he's gotten so many Eagles games. I think I've had to watch like 4 or 5 games commentated by Tom Brady this year, and just not good.
He was wearing this obnoxious car dealership gold watch on his wrist.
Insane. A $700,000
huge.
Yeah.
$700,000.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It was
Dude, it's a $700,000 watch, but then he was in that like whole ad about like Nola Strong, but it's like, bro, you're walking around with a $700K watch and you can't donate money.
He was in he was also in a Stop Racism ad with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Who are those for? Who are those for? Who's watching
racists,
that? Yeah,
obviously.
You think they're like, oh, Tom Brady and Snoop Dogg told me to stop being a racist? Let me get on that real quick. let me queue up gin and juice right now.
If I was like a super racist guy, which disclaimer, I'm not a racist guy.
I want to throw that out there.
And I was sitting at home in like my single wide in Alabama, like Alabama country, and I saw that commercial, I'd probably be incentivized to be more racist.
Yeah, it was a tough one. I liked the Shane Gillis Bud Light one. I like the direction they're going in. I think that they're doing it right.
Bud Light always has good commercials.
Yeah, they do. They do. I'm trying to think what else. They brought Puppy Monkey Baby back.
I was just gonna say, when Puppy Monkey Baby came on the screen, everyone in the room was like, "Oh no!" And I was the only guy who was like, "Puppy Monkey Baby."
See, Tyler, we didn't have fun at the Super Bowl, so this is what we did. This is where our enjoyment came from.
So I don't think I saw any of the commercials until halftime because, like I said, the voices in my head were 3 times as loud. But I do distinctly remember seeing Puppy Monkey Baby show up on TV, and I also distinctly remember Nick going, "Ugh." Like,
yeah, he's not a fan.
Nick was being so funny because he
really
just like,
doesn't like it.
Nick at one point in the game was sitting there with like his drink in his hand, leaning against like the doorway, and everyone was like, "Look at Nick being all mysterious right now." And then the Puppy Monkey Baby commercial came on. He was like, "Ugh, I scoff at that."
I scoff at that. That sounds right. Yeah, I mean,
one of our friends at one point. So, Tyler, I do have to commend you because had I been in your position, I would have been absolutely crashing out during that game because we did watch with a large group of people who don't watch football, which is totally fine.
God.
Yeah.
But they were having like we don't watch football
very
discussions.
nice people. Very nice people.
Some of my best friends, they were having the we don't watch football conversations during the game. And at one point I heard one of them go, "Who owns the NFL? They must be loaded." And I almost threw my drink on the ground, like spiked it on the ground.
I would say so. I did, Jack. There was one point where everybody else was over getting food, and I couldn't think of food because it was like the game had just started. And James like looked over and said to someone, "I'm throwing James under the bus here, right hand up on me."
You guys were fighting. I know exactly what you're talking about. You guys were fighting.
No, and I like actually yelled at dude. James is like sitting there like, "Yeah, just so you know, if none of my friends here were watching the game, I would be sitting at home reading a book." And I'm like, "Then go home and read a book." Like
no one's stopping you.
It was right after the pass interference call. Tyler was very upset about that, and he literally stood up and got in James's face and was like, "Go home and read a book."
yeah, because I prefaced everybody before the game. Before the game, I said, "Everybody, this is probably a top 7 most important next 3 hours of my entire life to this point." I was like, "I'm 22 years old. In my entire life, this next 3 hour span is probably the most important next 3 hours ever." And then I got someone asking, "Do you guys think Alex Earl's at the game?"
Oh my god, that was so bad.
I heard that one too. Actually,
that was so bad.
Except I was in a room full of dudes. But yeah, someone mentioned that.
That like, dude, like hearing that, I was like gonna rip my hair out. And I think my crash out would have been way worse if it wasn't like straight belt to ass. But
I'm actually glad it was because had it have been a close game, no one else. Me and Ankush would have been the only people in that room ready for a Tyler crash out.
Yeah.
No one else would have been.
Yeah.
Would have got ugly.
Tyler, I saw we had just gotten there and everyone was like eating food because the pregame was on, and Tyler was the only person in the TV room standing up 10 feet away from the TV, like watching the pregame coverage, getting all nervous and shit. And someone opened the fridge and they goes, "Oh, who got Jersey Mike's? That's awesome." And then like no one brought it up again. And then at halftime, Tyler came up to me. He's like, "It's halftime. I can finally think about eating." And he went and pulled an entire cheesesteak out and put it on a paper plate and took it down during halftime.
Speaking of halftime,
it was gas.
Let's talk halftime show really quickly, just because I'm firing here. What were your thoughts on that? I thought the Sam Jackson thing was pretty cool. I didn't really get it. Serena Williams crip walked. That was cool. I thought that the Not Like Us teaser was strange. Just to play
it was cool.
I thought it was
cool.
very.
Yeah.
I thought the political message was cool too. I just wish he did more of his old stuff. You know what I mean?
but
Like
the
I
thing
felt
is,
like
he
he
already-
did a
he
lot
already-
out of his new album, and
The reason he didn't is because he's already done the Super Bowl where he did his old stuff.
yeah. I think I wanted some Good Kid, Mad City, some T-Pap, and I didn't get it, and I was like a little upset about that. But like at the same time, you know, Kendrick is never gonna perform like badly. You know what I mean? I'm never gonna go into a Kendrick performance and be like that was bad. And SZA looked good, so that was fun.
I would say like Tyler knows exactly how much I enjoyed the Super Bowl halftime show this year.
Mhm.
I mean, me and Ankush were
Big
literally
fan. Jack,
dancing the whole time.
Jack and Kush were big fans.
We
Do you guys
loved
have
it.
surround sound? Were you able to like
No.
get the full feel?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
But I thought that was one of the probably best halftime shows I've seen in the last little while for me. My favorite halftime show I ever watched was Bruno Mars in 2014 because like the Patriots were in the Super Bowl that year, and it was such a good show.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so that one was really cool. But I think that for me, this was the best one since then. Not only because it's very timely, like everyone is listening to his music right now, but also because of the artistic message behind it. I thought that it was really, really cool what he did with the whole like unifying America while also being too big of an influence to have anyone silence them.
Mhm.
That part was really, really well done, I thought.
Yep, I agree.
And all the songs he played were like huge right now. So I was a huge fan of what he did, especially with Samuel L. Jackson and like all of the little narrative pieces that he had throughout it that you really had to be looking for. I thought was super cool.
Yeah, I just think I like Sam. I think I just like Sam Jackson. I like Kendrick Lamar too. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun show. It was a fun show.
Yeah. I think I'm so happy the Eagles were up by 24-0 at that point because that was the only way I would be able to actually like watch the halftime show.
Yeah, lock in for
it. So hey, thank you, Birds, for that. But I think Kendrick did what he set out to do. I think he wanted to come out, make like a commentary on like this like current state of the country. I think he was not trying to be silent about it either. I think the reports are that Trump left halfway through the performance. Like he was trying to make a political comment, and I think he did what he set out to do.
And then he also flamed Drake at the end, which is
and then exactly, and then he also threw Drake under the bus.
It. Like you can't even make an argument for him. I mean, like generally, if you cared that much about a rap beef, like you should probably find like a hobby or something to get like into. But he did end it at the Super Bowl.
Like exactly. Try pickleball, you know, or racquetball, or squash, or something. Find something to have fun.
Or just like knitting, something lame.
Maybe put the phone down. How about that?
Yeah, touch grass, maybe.
Yeah, little bit of touching grass, but yeah, I mean that was fun. Gatorade color was yellow. It was tails.
I literally completely predicted the entire pre-kickoff.
Yeah.
Up until the Chiefs' first play, I did not get anything wrong. Everything I said last week was perfect. Eli hit the kick of destiny. Hit the kick of destiny. Peyton missed it. The coin was really cool. Did you see what the coin was?
No.
It was really cool.
Okay.
It was tails. It was a touchback, and the first play was a run, which was
you were
cool.
All over it. All over it. They say.
And the national anthem overhit.
I don't think Baptiste. It did. I don't know. Maybe it did. I didn't really pay that much attention to it.
It was a real sweat though.
But yeah, I mean, I don't really have many more thoughts about the Super Bowl. It happened.
I saw someone on Twitter. There's this one guy's name's Dan Kleinman. I'm sure T-Rich knows him. Mm-hmm. He is like
I think it's Dove Kleinman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Regardless, he's like a huge Patrick Mahomes glazer, and he posted a video the other day, and he's like, "It's a shame that this video will not go down, or that this throw will not go down as one of the best passes in Super Bowl history." And this is touchdown to Xavier Worthy. And all of the comments were Jalen Hurts' throw to Devonta Smith, which was like objectively a way better play.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
It's also that Mahomes pass. The two guys in coverage, I want to say it was Zach McCollum and Sidney Brown, who are two like special teamer backups. Yeah. So and like I'm pretty sure nobody on the Eagles sideline was considering it a game at that point. I think I mean Sirianni got the Gatorade bath with like 3 minutes left in the game.
3 minutes left.
So like I want to say that touchdown was after the Gatorade bath. So like it was just one of those like completely um beaten up things. Um, how about Jalen Hurts outperforming Patrick Mahomes in two Super Bowls now? We lost the first one,
Yeah,
but Jalen Hurts was straight up the best football player on the field in that game. Um, and I think he came out again. I He might not have been the best player on the field this game. Might have been one of our defensive guys. He had that sucky pick in the first quarter. Um, but
forgot
he
about
came
that.
out
That's
in
just an
two
arm
Super
pump,
Bowls
though.
and out. Yeah, but it was also a weird one. It was also like a little bit on Saquon, like missing a block and like blitz got through. It's literally the one time that the Spags like weird defensive like BS like worked. It's the only play that game that it worked. Was that pick. So props on them for getting one play right. But shout out to Jalen outperforming Patrick Mahomes in two Super Bowls.
Shout out.
Super Bowl MVP, silencing all the haters. I loved nothing more than watching Nick Wright, the guy on Fox Sports who like
I
loves
hate that
Patrick
guy.
Yeah,
Mahomes.
the long haired.
I hate him.
I absolutely
Yeah,
can't stand him. He so the first one of the first things I saw on like Monday evening, I don't think I watched anything but Eagles clips. But then I saw him talking and he was at the pre-Super Bowl party like the night before and some lady comes up to him and starts like talking like, "Why do you hate Jalen Hurts so much? Like why do you hate Jalen Hurts so much? Like what are you going to say when he outperforms Mahomes and wins tomorrow?" And he said this conversation went on for like 20 minutes and the lady would not give any ground. Like, why do you hate Jalen Hurts so much? It was Jalen's mom the whole time. And she
really?
like just approached him. Yeah. And he said, he was like, if Jalen goes out there and they win, then we'll have to have a conversation on TV tomorrow. Like blah, 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 like all this like macho stuff. But no, happy to see him in defeat.
Nick
He's been
Wright
the
is
Eagles' number one op all year. So
Nick Wright is also the guy who, in his pyramid of quarterbacks, put Dak Prescott like third at the
Nick
beginning
Mhm.
of
Wright
this season.
trying to macho Jalen Hurts' mom is pretty hilarious.
You know what else was
Yeah.
pretty funny? On a similar note, the random old Mets baseball player who tried to fight Patrick Mahomes' dad on
No,
Bourbon Street.
he was a brave. He was a brave. They're going on
That
rough
was
and rowdy.
insane.
They're going
Yeah,
on
they're
rough
going
and
on rough
rowdy.
and
This
rowdy.
is real. The barstool like boxing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes Sr. versus what's the guy's name? It's
I
Brent
forget.
Rooker.
Yeah,
yeah,
something
Rooker, right?
rocker.
Yeah, Rocker.
That was insane.
Yeah,
And
John
it was completely unprompted. He was just like, I'm gonna try and fight this guy.
Former Atlanta Brave John Rocker and Patrick Mahomes Sr. are officially fighting each other at Rough and Rowdy on April 18th. That's
Love it.
hilarious. That's so funny.
Love it.
I'm not really a huge Barstool guy, but I may have to watch that. Yeah. Did
Me neither.
did Patrick Mahomes Sr. make it out of this one without a DUI this time?
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Okay, good for him. Good for him. Look, I got nothing more to say about the Super Bowl. It's a game. It happened. I watched it. I didn't really want to. And I don't feel anything. And I'm glad that Tyler is here to bring some joy and some light and some Cam Ward celebrations, I guess, to this conversation here. But I think Jack and I feel the same way when I say that we are looking forward to next season.
Yeah, it kind of sucks that football's over now.
Does.
It's felt like it's been over for like 3 weeks. Normally, I'm a lot more upset about that, but now it restarts the timer where we get super into the NBA and college basketball for the next 3 months, and then the NFL draft happens, and then the first episode of Hard Knocks is out, and then I think the Bears are going to win the NFC North, and then I draft my fantasy football team full of Chicago Bears, and I lose my fantasy football league, and then the playoffs come around, and the Bills lose to the Chiefs. Yes, you are going.
Yeah.
Cool.
I just hate the Chicago Bears. So.
Yeah.
If I can get my final word on the birds,
Please
get
do.
it out there on the Corner
Please
Office
do.
pod. I think I said Monday evening that the whole world feels like how Sunday Morning by Maroon 5 sounds. That's what the whole world has felt like this week.
Okay.
It's
I
been
don't hate it.
wonderful.
Rain is falling.
Absolutely perfect. I think that I have a so much better feeling after this Super Bowl win than the first one. A, because I'm older, I've seen more Eagles crap, but also because that first team it was one of those groups that I feel like they're in a bucket with the Rams team in 2021 and the Broncos team that won Super Bowl 50, of like a group that was really good but not like built to sustain themselves. Like we had a bunch of guys on 1 year deals. We had LeGarrette
Yeah.
Blunt in there on a 1 year deal. Torrey Smith,
Patriots legend LeGarrette
Bo
Blount.
Allen. Exactly, where it's like we had all these guys in here on like 1 year deals, and then we went and we won it with a backup quarterback. Like what team wins the Super Bowl and starts the next season not knowing who's gonna be the starting quarterback week one? Like,
Yeah.
so I think that this team is built to sustain itself. Which I think is really exciting. The whole narrative of the last Super Bowl win was got to go to the parade because this might never happen again in my lifetime. And now I feel pretty confident in saying that I think that this team, this at least core, will be able to go out and contend and hopefully get another Super Bowl for this city in the next couple of years. It would be really awesome to say that we won 3 Super Bowls in 10 years after having none in, what was that, 52 years of existence in the Super
Yep.
Bowl era.
Yep.
Um, I think I'm absolutely elated. We got our lick back. Go Birds. I'm going to the parade. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So if
I
you
don't know
if
what
you
else to
see
say.
some if you see some street lights down and some stop signs removed in the District of Columbia, just know that Tyler Richardson is on the
Yeah.
loose, and
He
he will
lives
be
in
reported
South
to
Hall.
authorities.
Yep.
F Street.
Yep.
This is his apartment behind you.
I'm gonna edit it
Yes.
up right here.
Yeah. No, like straight up, blame me. I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take the
congratulations.
fall.
Hey, go Birds.
I can't do
Oh,
that.
you
I
guys
can't
can't
do
really
that
see
as a
me doing
Patriots
it. I
fan.
can't do it in
Yeah.
frame.
I can't do that.
Go Birds.
I won't say
Go
that.
Birds.
Congratulations, Philadelphia. And yeah, I'm probably gonna crawl back in my bed and cry about this season for another few weeks before I'm ready to move past football being gone and get into college basketball. But March Madness is coming up, so
It
in
is.
a month from now I'll be fine. And conference tournament season is coming up, so in 2 weeks from now I'll be fine. And just looking forward to the positives here. But T Rich,
Yep.
thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having
always
me.
good to always good to hear from you guys. And
Love it.
This has been the Corner Office. I'm Alex Penders.
And I'm Jack Byrne.
I'm Tyler.
Yep.
Bye, friends.
Go on,
Corner 3.
Oh.
Whoa!
Whoa.
Whoa!